The empty house. For 42 years, 17 Maple Drive wasn't just a house. It was a living, breathing scrapbook of my life. The scuff mark on the kitchen floor from where Michael, as a toddler, had sent a pot of spaghetti flying. The faint outline on the wall where Sarah's crib once stood. The porch swing where Arthur and I would sip iced tea and watch the world go by until cancer stole him from us 5 years ago. The house was my anchor, my museum, my last connection to a happiness that felt increasingly like a dream. The real estate market was insane, everyone said so. Letters and calls from agents came weekly, their offers becoming more and more audacious. I always said no. This wasn't a property. It was a home. My son, Michael, however, saw it differently. "Mom, it's just a building," he'd say, his voice tinged with the impatience he'd carried since adolescence. "That's life-changing money. You're sitting on a gold mine and living like a museum curator. You could travel, buy a nice condo, be free." "I am free here, Michael," I'd reply softly. "My memories are here." He'd just shake his head, a gesture that said I was a sentimental old fool stuck in the past. The for sale sign appeared on a Tuesday. I was returning from grocery shopping, my heart plummeting into my stomach at the sight of it, staked into my perfect petunia bed. I called Michael, my hands trembling. "Michael, there's a sign. There's been some terrible mistake." "No mistake, Mom," he said, his voice buzzing with a strange energy. "It's all taken care of. You'll thank me later. I have a power of attorney. Remember? The power of attorney. I'd signed it years ago when he'd helped me navigate some banking after Arthur passed. It was for emergencies. I never imagined. The sale was swift. A whale, Michael called the buyer. A tech millionaire who wanted the property immediately and paid in cash. All I could do was watch in a state of numb horror as my life was packaged into boxes. Michael handled everything. A whirlwind of efficiency, brushing aside my tears as pre-sale jitters. The check. He came over to my new, cramped rental apartment a week after the closing. He was beaming, dressed in a sharp new suit, smelling of expensive cologne. He looked like the cat that got the cream. "It's done, Mom. All sorted," he said, slapping an envelope down on the cheap IKEA coffee table. "Your share." I opened the envelope with numb fingers. Cashier's check, made out to me, for $15,000. I stared at it, the numbers blurring. The math didn't compute. $1.2 million. Minus realtor fees, closing costs. It couldn't possibly be this. This wasn't a share. It was an insult. "Atip." "Michael." My voice was a thin, reedy thing. "What is this? Where is the rest?" He sighed, as if explaining something very simple to a very slow child. "Mom, the house needed a lot of work. The roof, the foundation." The buyer negotiated hard. Then there were back taxes I had to settle, my fee for managing the entire ordeal. It was a lot more complicated than you think. I looked at my son. I saw the glint in his eye, the slight, smug tilt of his mouth. He wasn't sorry. He was proud. He thought he'd gotten away with it. "Get out," I whispered. "Mom, don't be dram. Get out." The scream came from a place I didn't know I had, raw and guttural. He flinched, shrugged, and left, leaving the check on the table like a discarded gum wrapper. I sank to the floor, the check clutched in my hand. The betrayal was a physical pain, a knife twisting in the space where my heart used to be. He hadn't just sold my house. He'd sold our history, his father's memory, and any last vestige of trust one had in him. For what? A new suit and a fancy car? But he'd underestimated his mother. He'd forgotten that before I was a grieving widow, before I was a sentimental old woman, I was the bookkeeper who had kept Arthur's small architecture firm running like a well-oiled machine for 30 years. He thought I was frail and forgetful. He was wrong. The reckoning, the rage crystallized into a cold, hard purpose. This was no longer about the money. This was about justice. I went to the bank and got a safe deposit box. I placed the $15,000 check inside. I wouldn't cash it. It was my Exhibit A. Then I got to work. I hired a lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Evelyn Reed who specialized in elder law and fiduciary fraud. Her lips pressed into a thin, grim line as I told my story. "We'll start with a demand letter," she said. "But from what you've told me, we're going straight to litigation. The power of attorney Michael had abused was for financial decisions in my best interest. Selling my home out from under me for a pittance was the opposite of that." Evelyn subpoenaed everything. The closing documents, the realtor's communications, his bank accounts. The story that emerged was one of breathtaking greed. There were no back taxes. The foundation was fine. The roof was only 10 years old. The buyer had paid the full asking price of $1.2 million without a single negotiation. The money had flowed like this, $1.2 million into an escrow account Michael controlled. He paid the standard realtor fees and closing costs. Then, he had written a check to himself for $150,000, listed as a property management and facilitation fee. He'd paid off $635,000 in personal debts, maxed out credit cards, a second mortgage on his own over-leveraged home, and his staggering car loan. He'd taken his wife on a $50,000 shopping spree. The rest, over $300,000, had been transferred to a new brokerage account to play with stocks. The $15,000 was what was left. A crumbs. Afterthought. We filed the lawsuit. The case was explosive. "Son swindles widowed mother out of family home." The headlines read. Michael's life, built on a facade of success, crumbled overnight. His wife left him, taking their kids. His job at a prestigious firm that valued integrity let him go. He was exposed, humiliated, and facing not just a civil suit, but criminal charges of fraud and elder abuse. The twist: the court case was a foregone conclusion. The evidence was irrefutable. The judge, a stern woman with cold eyes, listened to Michael's pathetic excuses about providing for me and making tough decisions with visible disgust. She awarded me everything. The full $1.2 million plus punitive damages, plus my legal fees. She also recommended the district attorney pursue criminal charges to the fullest extent of the law. As the bailiff led a ashen-faced Michael away in handcuffs, his lawyer approached me. "My client wishes to speak with you," he said quietly. "He has something to say." Against Evelyn's advice, I agreed. We met in a stark conference room. Michael looked years older, stripped of his expensive suit and all his arrogance. He didn't look at me. He stared at the table. "I'm sorry," he mumbled. It was empty, meaningless. "Why, Michael?" I asked, my voice steady. "Why the $15,000? Was it guilt? A joke?" He finally looked up, and to my astonishment, a tear traced a path down his cheek. It wasn't for me. It was for himself. "It wasn't from me," he choked out. "It was from Sarah." I froze. Sarah, my daughter, my sweet, kind-hearted daughter who lived across the country and who I tried to shield from this entire ugly mess. "What are you talking about?" When she found out what I'd done, she called me screaming. She told me I was a monster. She made me give it to you. She said it was all the money she had in her savings. She said to give it to you and tell you it was from the sale. She couldn't bear the thought of you getting nothing. She was going to tell you the truth herself. But I told her I'd do it. I was going to tell you it was from me, to make myself look less awful. But I just couldn't say the words. The world tilted on its axis. The $15,000. It wasn't an insult from my son. It was a life raft from my daughter. It was every penny she had, a desperate attempt to cushion my fall, sent through the hands of the very man who had pushed me. The aftermath. I left the conference room, my heart shattered into a million new pieces. I called Sarah that evening. "Mom," she answered, her voice thick with tears. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have stopped him. I should have told you." "Hush, baby," I whispered, my own tears flowing freely. "You have nothing to be sorry for. You tried to protect me. You gave me everything you had. The money from the lawsuit came through. I used it to buy a small, lovely cottage not unlike the one I'd lost. It has a garden for my petunias and a porch swing for my iced tea. Sarah's $15,000 check is framed in my hallway, not as a symbol of betrayal, but as a testament to the love of a child who would give her last dollar to try and heal my heart. Michael pleaded guilty to avoid a trial. He's serving his time. I visit him sometimes, not because I've forgiven him, but because he's still my son. The love is a complicated, scarred-over thing now, more a duty of memory than a feeling of warmth. He sold my house for $1.2 million and handed me a check for $15,000. He thought he was giving me a pittance to cover his crime, but he accidentally handed me a proof of my daughter's profound love. And in doing so, he lost everything, while I, in the end, found that I still had everything that truly mattered.